Okay. This is sleeveless hoodie week, apparently. Rocking the sleeveless hoodies. Hey, it says Adidas, right? This is a mistake every one of you keeps making. And I actually like the Camera Conspiracies channel because the guy is absolutely a hoot. His dry humor is par excellence. Anyway, he was in the camera store, and it wasn't his fault. And this is not about him. This is a mistake all of you are making. Some schmuck at the camera store, he was testing out the Fujifilm X-T3. And I think it was the 5612 that he actually put on the camera, which is not for video. Number one, obviously if you're not using an external microphone, there is such a thing as internal vibration. If you're using like a stepper motor, which that particular lens is, it'll actually transfer the sound, so you can actually hear the lens autofocusing. Secondly, that is not a lens for video. So for doing face or eye detect autofocus, the smoothness or the fluidity of autofocus tracking is completely inappropriate and undesirable. It's not a lens you would actually pick for video. But this is not about him. This is a mistake every one of you are making. It is not applicable to Fujifilm only, but to all camera systems. Fujifilm, like Canon, like Nikon, has several different autofocus mechanisms that actually focus the lenses. There are ultimately 7 different types. The primary ones are AFS, a micro motor, has a few little nylon gears in it. There's a true ring silent wave motor, screw drive motors like on Nikon. Fujifilm has linear motors. You cannot judge a camera unless you actually know the type of autofocusing mech that is in the lens. While I'm no fan of the Nikon D5, it actually has separate processing for autofocus tracking. But as the fact is, if I stick like a screw drive lens on that Nikon D5, or even a Nikon D850, which is nearly as fast, and I've never used, hey, camera store guy, you know, slap this 180mm 2.8D series. Why, this camera sucks. This is a $3,300 Nikon D850 or a $6,500 Nikon D. This sucks. I mean, the autofocus is noisy, it jumps, and there's a hesitation on half pressing the shutter release button. That is correct, and the mistake that you're making, and everybody really is making, and nobody seems to clarify this. They just think, well, you know, autofocus is however fast, you know, this is a slow autofocusing camera. What the hell sort of lens do you have on it? This is also true of the GFX, for example. This is the 45mm, which is incredibly useful, 35mm field of view. However, I've got all 8 GFX lenses. There's different autofocusing mechs in the GFX series. There's linear motors that actually drive, they're actually like on rails, just like an elevator is on rails. And the new 80mm macro, for example, uses ceramic ball bearings. It's even a new type of linear autofocus. Like the 50-140 is a triple linear autofocus motors. And of course it also depends too on the mass of the driven elements. It is the case with Nikon and also with Canon that it actually takes more energy and there's a hesitation to change the position of a larger mass, right? Yes, that is the case. So you could have the exact same type of autofocusing mechanism, but if the actual driven elements for autofocus are larger, then there is a both pause and a slight lag, usually imperceptible, in autofocus. But I mean, if I were to take a $6,500 Nikon D5, for example, and let's say not a screw drive lens like an AFD, which Nikon still makes a lot of AFD screw drive lenses, I were to stick a micro motor lens on there. Here's a perfect example. I've got every Fujifilm X series lens. If I never tried a Fujifilm camera, it's like this little pancake 27mm. You've seen it, right? It's actually got really good image output. I'm going to slap that on the X-T3. I'm going to judge this Fujifilm X-T3. well, my God, this thing is noisy as hell. You know, I tried to do a selfie video and I could hear there's a tiny little step. I mean, it's a pancake lens. What sort of autofocusing mech do you think is in that thing? No matter what Fujifilm camera you mount it on, the autofocus is going to be slow and noisy. The image output is really good. It's a limiting factor of the lens design itself. You can't stick a silent wave motor. I mean, a silent wave motor would actually cost more than that lens is actually worth. You actually can buy those lenses really, really cheap out of China, like Gray Market, for example. But you cannot judge any camera, be it Fujifilm or Nikon or Canon, until you know what sort of lens. Like, intelligently, if someone wanted to, say, test video on the X-T3, and the X-T3 is going to get a huge firmware update here in middle of April sometime for superior face and eye detect autofocus. I think it's like 4 times faster. That'd be a good time to judge the camera. Or say, I am only interested in video on the X-T3 and I'd like to test drive it. And then the stupid store clerk at the camera store, which is, I think, what happened to Camera Conspiracies guy. He just slapped some sort of, I think it was a 5612, or it could have been the 3514. You can't judge a camera by sticking that lens on there. If I were to intelligently want to review, which I don't, I've already done it, the Nikon D5, I would say, well, me knowing what sort of autofocus mechs, and this is also an issue with Nikon, Fujifilm, and Canon, is they don't really educate you on these facts. They don't. They'll tell you, you know, it's an SWM over. Nikon actually lies about this. They'll say that there's a silent wave motor in a countless numbers of lenses that are not true. Hubless, gearless silent wave motor mechanisms. They have little micro motors and little nylon gears that strip and cogs fall out of place. That's what's found on the little stubby 8518G. But you can't make a conclusion based upon that. What you don't realize, and this is, like I said, a fault of Fujifilm, Nikon, and Canon, is that the fastest autofocusing camera in the world has ever seen is still going to be slower than a constipated turtle in a snowstorm if you stick a slow-ass lens on there. Okay? A camera system is camera and lens. The fastest autofocusing camera is only so damn fast if you stick a slow lens. You can't drive a slow lens any faster. Well, it's a fast camera. Everybody says this camera is super, super fast. The X-T3, for example, or Nikon D5. Or I'm trying to think of another example, D850, D500. You stick a screw drive lens on there, or a micro motor lens, or like I said, the 27mm pancake Fujifilm. If I never used an X-T3 and I stuck that lens, oh, this camera sucks. Man, this is slow autofocus, it's noisy. I thought this is the latest and greatest from Fujifilm. Well, it is. And if you stick an appropriate lens on there, at least a recent one, or a recent one with linear rails on it, it's just, I mean, it'll slam it fast on autofocus, and it will track smoothly and fluidly for video. This is what these little midget lenses that Fujifilm came out for video. The 23mm f2, the 16mm 2.8, the 35 f2, the 50mm f2, the big 16 to 55 f2.8, the 90mm f2, the 50 to 140. These are fluid focusing, very fast, linear autofocus rail system lenses. So the ultimate point of this video is don't ever judge a camera until he's like, what sort of lens do I have on this camera? You know, the ultimate judge of a camera is if you stick, this is the full potential of this camera because I've got the fastest damn lens on here. You know, say for example, the latest 24 to 70 true silent wave motor Nikkor on the Nikon D850. This is a true judge of what this camera is capable of because I got a fast slamming ass motor in this lens that is being driven by this new camera, and I'm going to make a correct judgment based upon these two working together as a system. You know, if you stuck my 258-pound whatever fat butt on the back of the world's fastest runner, you know, the guy that has calf muscles, like, he's not going to go very fast. He'd actually go so slow, he might even break his legs, right? He's not going to go very fast. The fastest camera with a slow lens. Did I make my point abundantly clear? Everybody on YouTube, and I'm not singling out Camera Conspiracy, because everybody said, oh God, you gotta go see Camera Conspiracy's video. He's just like slammed the X-T3. It's like, oh, so what, you know? I like the guy. I don't care what he says. I went to go check the video out, and it's like, that's the problem right there. The stupid camera store clerk stuck this slow-ass non-video lens on the X-T3. And from that, you'll make an incorrect conclusion. And that is not exclusive to Fujifilm, but also to Nikon, Canon, everybody else. Everybody. Especially if you're like Canon and Nikon and Fujifilm, that you've been making lenses for a long time, and there have been an evolution in the nature of which the autofocus lens mechanism drives the driven elements. Screw drive lens, AFS, true ring ultrasonic, linear motor, stepper motor. Ultimately, there's about 7 or 8 different autofocus mechs. Fujifilm has 5 that I know of. Nikon has 6 that I know of. Anyway, I think I made my point abundantly clear. Don't judge a camera until you ask yourself the damn question, what lens is on it? Okay? Okay. I hope you like these videos. If you do, you can click the link below. Tell me how much you can't stand me, or you know how much I've been helpful, or tell me how much you just think I'm a, you know, because it's the internet and people love to complain no matter what. Just like my booklet that I'm writing, which is completely free. People are complaining about... I showed the cover of the book, and people were already complaining. Why did you use a papyrus font on the cover of that booklet? It's like, are you kidding me? The booklet is free. I'm working my butt off on it, and you're already complaining about the cover calligraphy, the cover font, not calligraphy, font, same thing. Anyway, people love to complain. It's like, I'll sit back and drink some coffee, and I'll let you make that free book. People love to complain. Yeah, they do. It's their favorite pastime. You know why? You know why? Wait for it. Because complaining is easier than actually doing it. You know. As the ancient Chinese would say, talk, not cook rice. Yeah. Talk, not cook rice.